Hey, everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
That's us. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
How we doing, fellas?
Oh, it's been a pretty good year, I'd say, so far for movies. I'd say we've had some ups and downs, but I think it's been a pretty good year overall.
Yeah. We're going to start a new series this week with this episode, which is
Oh my God, thank you.
something new.
Thank
It's
God.
going to be so far right now, it's classic two-parter. We had a string there. I don't know if you guys remember this. We had a string where we did like just two parts. Like we have a series of like just movies that only had two movies. And it was a really fun streak because we were just whipping through series.
Boom, boom. Yeah, we're going back to our original So Many Sequels roots, back to franchises. I mean, we had the Harry Potter and its Commander and all that we can put behind us now. Josh, what are we going into?
Well, today we're going to talk about a movie that is getting a sequel for the first time in many decades. This movie kind of defines aspects of the 80s, I think, and 80s culture. We're talking about Top Gun.
Top Gun,
We're talking
Danger Zone,
Top Gun,
Need for Speed,
yes,
all that.
great little way to shake things up from talking about Fantastic Beasts. Now we're talking about this. Top Gun came out in 1986. Actually won an Academy Award for Best Original Song for that song that, what is it called? It always pops up and it's hilarious. Take My Breath
Is
Away.
it Take My Breath Away?
Oh,
I
Take My
didn't
Breath
realize
Away
that was the origin of this song.
was written for Top Gun.
Oh.
And won the Oscar for Best
Well,
Original Song.
My complaint for later is going to be hollow now.
I can't wait to hear it.
Okay.
So,
I'm very
Top Gun-
excited.
To refresh anyone who may not have seen it in a while or hasn't seen it, Top Gun is about Pete Maverick Mitchell, played by Tom Cruise. For Maverick and his friend and co-pilot Goose, played by, oh gosh, what was his name? Anthony Edwards.
Long time star VR.
Being accepted into an elite training school for fighter pilots is a dream come true, but a tragedy as well as personal demons will threaten Maverick's dream of becoming an ace pilot. Was this a first time for anyone?
I'm going to say
No.
it was the first time for me
You're going to go ahead.
Oh,
because I feel like I knew everything about this movie, knew everything that happens. And so none of it was shocking to me. This is one of those movies that is an iconic movie and as such has become so like referential in film. And I've seen clips of it. I mean, every time I would watch a thing used to when you would watch the Oscars, they would play like tons of clips and it would always end up like Top Gun would always be in there as like a thing. So I'm going to say this is my first time actually like presently watching the movie because I may have been on when I was a kid, but I don't remember.
Okay.
What about you, Garrett? Have you watched this recently?
no, I mean, this is my second time. I would say my first time actually watching it was, I don't know, a few years ago. It was not as a kid. I don't remember why. Or maybe I did watch it as a kid and I don't remember it. But golly, this movie just drips 80s. Every facet of it is the definition of like stereotype of 80s. I mean, it was beautiful to just immerse it. One of the things that I really appreciated was it took advantage of what we are missing these days is that short ass movie that SNL called out. Like, this is a
movie. The short.
absolutely. This is short, quick to the point. You have weak characters that are laughably weak that I enjoyed because for
To
me,
be fair, I don't know if that was intentional.
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. But what are you going to do? You don't have time to introduce everybody and give them a backstory. And I don't agree with how it's done. But one of my biggest guilty pleasures growing up was Matlock. And the gentleman who played Conrad, his private investigator, was in this movie. And he took over for Goose as Maverick's co-pilot.
Oh, Tim Robbins?
Is that his? I
Is that his name?
don't even know.
Yeah, Tim Robbins.
Clarence
Yeah.
Hilliard Jr. Most people probably know him from Walker.
Oh,
Texas, right?
yeah, Sundown. I was thinking of Merlin who takes over for him after he finishes. Yeah, okay, yeah, Sundown. Yeah.
No,
I
but
remember.
he's
that
there
one.
and he says 5 words throughout the whole thing, and it's laughable. And then you have one part that stands out to me where Wolfman, who just shows up, makes a phone call, is like, Maverick, just quit.
To someone.
Boom, and that
To someone. I don't know if we ever really learned who.
It solved the storyline. I would assume that he called the female, but but you have things like that where you just quick, easy to the point. Yep, it's not that great, but it tells the story and it moves it along and let's get it done. And I really
That's
very
interesting.
much appreciate that.
That's interesting. I'm surprised that you don't think it's that great.
I mean, I much prefer characters be flat or they don't exist if they're not needed. But this is a different era of film, and you have to appreciate it for what it is. You can pick it apart for what it has become,
Mhm.
but leaning into the 80s-ness, give me it.
Yeah, there are it does feel like at times there's a lot of superfluous characters that are mostly to fill out the fact that, hey, this is the top training program in the American Navy fighter jet force, and you can't have four guys. It can't be just Iceman, his friend Goose, and Maverick. You have to have other people filling things out. So yeah. So I was kind of worried because I was watching, going like, man, I just don't feel like there's like I get it, but I was also watching it at times going, not sure what the appeal is here. Because in the middle of the movie, it becomes like a romance, like a
Part of
very,
the appeal.
and so it was like, I was like, okay, is this like a really romantic movie that I didn't realize had all this romance about it? And I didn't realize that the song Take My Breath Away was written for this movie. That makes it make more sense. One of my things I was going to say, man, they really got their money's worth out of this piece of material because there's a period of 4 scenes back to back where boom, boom,
Every time he
boom,
sees
boom,
her or
boom,
thinks of
boom,
her,
boom.
it kicks in. And
It's-
I laughed every time. I
It's a-
thought it was
it's-
hilarious.
It's a straight 20-minute, 4 scenes back to back where that song starts and it was to be kind of hip with the kids. It keeps edging where it does not get to the vocals.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh my gosh, just say it. And finally, when they come together to know each other carnally, he take my breath away. And you're like, oh, finally, they got to the words. of the
That's
text.
filmmaking. That's expert direction, right?
Got to build, baby.
It was
To it.
I gotta
I,
imagine in 1986, perhaps it was more romantic to watch.
Yeah.
Because Take My Breath Away was brand new. It wasn't what it is today. And
right.
I don't know. I thought their lovemaking scene was also pretty funny, but I can see how in
Oh,
1986
God.
it was super scandalous. Of tongue.
You know, I mean, you watch it and it's ripe for the parodies that followed. Like
Right.
it feels like I could see Leslie Nielsen in Naked Gun doing like that exact bit. There is a decent amount of cheese. I guess we kind of got into it without really starting, but it's so there's that. They play Danger Zone, I think at least 3 times.
And
so
they
got-
didn't
I don't-
play it enough.
I was gonna
You
say,
know-
honestly, I could have used more Danger
I
Zone.
love
Always.
Danger, and I always knew that this was the move that, in terms of Danger Zone being popular, this was the movie that popularized it. But I didn't realize that it was just like bang, start the movie with it, and then bang, we're gonna do it again in the midway point, and boom, one more time.
Yeah.
It's very funny to me how it's just kind of humorous to me how music was used in this movie and how, generally speaking, there's not a lot going on. Like they're training. They have an extended volleyball game. It was very interesting
Right.
to actually
It-
presently watch it for the first time.
For there to be this like air of relative seriousness about what they're facing, there's a lack of urgency that's kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
That I don't think is intentional, but
Because-
it works out in my favor anyway. And let me ask you, David, if you caught on, because I know that we had trouble. Who's the bad guy? It's just a random MiG.
I'll tell you what. Oh, the bad guy in general. Yeah, whatever the MiGs are.
Like
Russians,
who
I
are
assume.
flying the enemy aircraft?
I don't know exactly. They were
Are
in the
they in a
Indian
war, or
Ocean.
what is this?
Maybe
Right, I think
1986. Is that I don't know when the Gulf War started.
Right.
But they're over the Indian Ocean. Was
I
the
swear
only
they
real.
never say who's
Yeah, like-
flying those planes.
And
I
tell
think
you what, I
that's
thought
the
you did in
generic on
general.
purpose.
Generally speaking, I think the bad guy might be Maverick.
Well,
Guys,
yeah,
in a way, yeah.
After a little while, I was like, this is a real like Billy Zabka situation going here because I think Iceman's right. I think Iceman's not like Iceman's making a ton of sense. He's kind of a dick about it, sure.
Right.
But I was like, Maverick is kind of being a little reckless and dangerous up there. And I was like, I think Iceman, he's I mean, he's not wrong.
He's an old stick in the mud, but he's technically correct. Yeah,
He is the best kind of correct.
technically.
And
Yeah, I think
they-
David, earlier you said something about you weren't sure what the audience was, and you have to look at it from a different perspective because
Mm.
this movie, the audience is action. Like the story doesn't matter, the
Mhm.
plot doesn't matter, the action is there, and the action scenes I still think very good. I think the dogfighting scenes are really fun to watch, just because that is an interesting thing to see anyway. Those planes are so fast. they are so much money. And I know that it's a movie and it's not, but like when they blow up, it's fun to watch them blow up. It's kind of like why a lot of reason why people like NASCAR is to see them
Yeah.
crash, and it's fun to watch them explode. And so like those, and they're very practical. They don't rely on CG. They are very real. And so they hold up quite well. And so even from an action standpoint, that is all that they're there for, is just sheer action. And yeah, I had the same thing. Maverick is wrong. But again, he is our anti-hero. He's the
Yeah.
rebel who's trying to prove something.
Sometimes you gotta bring.
Yeah.
So he goes against the rules and thinks his own way. And that's
I know,
what
he
makes
needs-
Maverick.
He really needs that, and that's part of his hero's journey, is sort of being wrong and it actually having consequences. It would be one thing if he was wrong and then it turned out like everybody went, no, Maverick's the one who's right. It's like,
Let's not forget that he is pointed out to be wrong. Like he learns and he grows and he learns that, okay, I was wrong. Iceman, you were right. And I'm sorry. Basically, I'm like, he kind of grows at the end. You get that growth.
Oh, yeah,
in a limited amount of time.
oh yeah, we get it.
And so they do well.
And I will say, in terms of the audience question, it's really more so not necessarily like who is the target audience. For me, it's just kind of interesting to go back and look at it and then kind of try to analyze the legacy of the movie, because this became a very iconic film. We'll get into later how big it was in 1986. So it's just interesting to me that I feel like the people who talk about this movie the most, or the people who remember this movie the most, are like 45 to, or maybe 40 to 55-year-old men. Like, I think my father-in-law loves this movie to death. And yet in the middle of the movie, there's this long romantic subplot culminating in silhouetted sexy time. And
How
that
they
is
get the
not something my father-in-law would be into today.
right.
So it's just kind of funny to me because I'm trying to pick out, okay, this movie became iconic, and trying to pick out, I'm surprised at some of the things that are in it that aren't ever referenced. You know what I mean? To me,
Interesting.
it's
Well,
the
it
Goose,
makes- it
Goose
makes
and
it-
Maverick relationship that I feel like most people talk up about this movie. And yet I feel like that's really underserved compared to everything else.
Yeah.
I would agree, but I think that's because I don't think that this movie is not it's not Pretty Woman where the relationship is the focus. The focus is not the relationship. It is just secondary to the general premise, which is Top Gun. Top Gun is number one and Maverick is number one. And his story with Goose, the main story, while I would agree a little bit underserved if you think about it, it's there and they are developed, but it does seem like that they're just kind of friends without any backstory.
I know, and I don't.
You get a little bit of backstory.
I don't
Yeah,
necessarily
it
mind
is
that there's no
backstory.
backstory, and I don't even think that their relationship is necessarily the focus of the story. I just feel like whenever people talk about the movie, they're all like, "Oh, I was so sad when Goose died," or "Oh, Maverick, you can be my Goose, and I'll be your Maverick." Well, you know, that kind of like you hear about that kind of thing, reference a lot, and I get it, but also I just feel like they just seemed like really good casual buddies. They didn't seem like there was that much of a, I don't know. It's just kind of funny to look at how different movies, like how much things have changed. Because I feel like in an action movie today, there's such a high demand on everybody who's in the movie. You need to justify why they're in the movie. You know what I mean?
And
And
that's why you
I-
get 2-hour-long Sonic the Hedgehog movies.
I agree. I totally get what you're saying, David. I mean, I feel like, yeah, Maverick and Goose are one of film's like iconic duos now, and watching back, it's hard to find why exactly, because their relationship doesn't seem super strong, like how it's perceived today. But what I was really surprised by was how underwhelming I thought Goose's death was.
yeah.
It wasn't that powerful of a moment,
Well,
which is what I expected based on people's reaction today, and
yeah.
then also just the premise of his friend dying. Wasn't that?
Yeah.
Mm,
can I?
kinda
And
happened.
I think part of that is it feels like a random act, which in within the context of reality, it would be. But I feel like in a movie today, there would be all this like element of foreshadowing, of laying the foundation for how important Goose is to Maverick, or how important it is for Maverick to protect Goose, or there'd be all this foundation laying. And then when that happens, when he dies, it'd be the emotional weight that Maverick has would be like, oh, really makes sense. But it feels like they're just going along, everything's great, and then all of a sudden Goose dies. So there's no sense of buildup to that kind of thing happening. So, and I'm not trying to be overly critical of the movie, but it's just kind of funny to think about, because I feel like they would really I feel like today they would be a lot of like signposting along the way, and you go back and you look and you watch the movie a second time and you go, "Oh man, why didn't we see this coming?"
Well, I think
Even in
that
the
goes
movie, they're like,
back
"Yeah, they're
to
random."
different era storytelling. I
Mm.
think that in the 80s, you didn't have a lot of 2-hour plus movies for the most part. Most of them were, I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll pretend that it is. And so I think that at the time, you're used to getting a story in less than 2 hours, and their connection is faster built than what we're used to, because now this one's going to be, I mean, I'm looking at the runtimes now. Top Gun is
Like an hour
an
40.
hour and 50 something, and this one's 2 hours and 11 minutes. So you're going to get more story. You're going to get more of that backstory that you didn't get in the first one, because that's just, I mean, it's a different era of storytelling. And I think that people have adjusted to expect more backstory over time. And I think that in the 80s, things were faster, and they probably felt more connected to that relationship than we do watching it now, because it's okay, yeah, like I get it, but it doesn't have that same kind of build that we get, because they're trying to build the relationship too in this element. And so they're sprinkling everything, trying to hit it just enough. Whereas now they expand a little bit more in each area than we're used to in the past.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
There's a lot of unnecessary goofiness, though, isn't there? A lot of weird
I've
machismo, weird extended volleyball sequence. There's a lot of unnecessary that could have been used to flesh out story and character a little more.
Yeah,
I was a
you
little,
know,
oh yeah, but I
I
was a
didn't
little
learn anything
surprised
about
by
that volleyball scene.
No, the volleyball scene, that was weird, because you don't expect it to be the guys in a movie like this. You would expect to see a beach volleyball scene of women. I didn't expect it to be a beach volleyball scene of dudes, and that was a little bit of a surprise. But I welcomed a surprise,
you know,
because you expect to have women sexualized in the 80s.
I'll tell you what, the volleyball scene though does contribute to my other comment, and I've only made this comment about one other movie that I can remember, and that is this movie is sweaty. Like this movie is like everybody in this movie is drenched in sweat,
So
constant.
sweaty.
Like the
Yeah.
entire film was just shot in Arizona, and I think the last movie I said that about was Devil All the Time. That was like a sweaty, like these people have to change their underwear all the time kind of movie. Like this is these guys. I mean, they were on those battleships. They're just like pouring sweat in there.
There was that one guy who was just had the headset and was reading the radar, and he was just drenched more than anyone else. I was like, what is wrong with
At all
that?
times. At all times, I was
So
like,
so-
it must be awful in there. Their boss, like his head is glistening and all that. So, and it just looked like it looked like camp. It looked like air conditioning, set up an oscillating fan at the end of the room, summer camp. Just brutal. Do we want to talk about performances at all? Because I thought Tom Cruise was really weird in this.
He wasn't.
He was kind of weird.
He has stages of his career where he's really good to me, and other stages where he's almost oddly robotic. And this one felt like that. And I don't mean like bad acting robotic. I mean literally, he seems like an android. Like when he is singing, anytime he is singing in this movie, it
Mm.
feels like an alien who's trying to mimic a human.
Yeah, he seems. I mean, it might be a level of I don't know at what film in his filmography this was, what number it was, but he was only 24 here.
early
So,
on, man. I mean, it's only a few. He started in Endless Love in 1981. So I mean, he came out hot. He came
Yeah.
out blazing. So he had
Yeah.
The Outsiders, Risky Business, All the Right Moves, Legend, and then Top Gun.
His
So,
teeth also hadn't
it-
been fixed yet. So
Yeah, and he has this like constant like turked up smile that I mean became kind of his iconic look, I guess. But he's kind of a creep in this movie a little bit too.
Very
He's trying to
much
get
so.
that when he's trying to get that lady in the bag. It's very okay. Anyway, yeah. So
He
it was
wanted to the women's restroom after he was turned down.
yeah.
You can't do that.
That
don't.
conversation goes different ways a lot of times. So I thought he was kind of weird. He was fine. I thought it was fine, I guess, but it was a little weird at times. Like you said, a little robotic, a little creepy. His making out is a lot of tongue, and that's a little weird. But I thought one of his better scenes was when they were at her house. I don't remember her name now. Can anybody help me out here? What's
Charlie.
the woman's name? Charlie?
Charlie. Kelly McGill.
Yeah, Charlotte. Yeah, when they're at her house and they're listening to music, and Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay comes on, and he's just kind of like having a quiet little monologue about his mom, his dad. That was like his best, I think, actual performance scene in this movie. I thought Val Kilmer was really good. Goose was obviously very entertaining. or I should say Anthony Edwards, Val Kilmer were very good. So yeah, it's not like a movie that just has a bunch of powerhouse performance, but I think it's fun.
Mhm.
Again, I don't think that's the aim of the movie. The aim of the movie is to be fun.
I think, yeah,
It's definitely that. The
it's Jets.
performances are funny. The performances are there. They're good. They're passable. They hold up. They deliver.
Mm.
The action is the star. That's what the movie is about. It is about the fighter pilots. It's about being a part of that action and feeling it. And if they deliver on those scenes, then an action movie can be successful with okay performances. And this one is the like perfect example of that.
About what exactly?
About like, what do you think about the performances here in this movie? Or do they matter? Is the Jets the story here or the attraction here?
The big zooms.
But yes, first of all, yes. I'm trying to formulate what I'm thinking in real time. Yeah, the Jets. Here the attraction are the Jets, the pretty people, the romance, the music, all of the things that make great entertainment. So I think the story can get away with being weaker, and some of the performances could get away with being weaker, but they're not that bad. Like there was nothing really outside of the couple of Tom Cruise things we mentioned that made me go, "Ooh, what is happening here acting wise?" It was generally fine. I thought they were all fine. Yeah. I mean, Val Kilmer's not quite weird yet, which is good.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is not quite normal yet.
Let me ask: were you guys airplane like kids? Did you like airplanes and did you have like model jets and stuff?
I did.
Really?
I was an
I don't
airplane
think
kid.
so.
I liked airplanes and spaceships. I had space shuttles and jets.
That's cool. That's cool. So does this appeal to you? To the idea, like an idea of a movie about fighter pilots and stuff, does that generally appeal to you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if it delivers, I want a little more than just jets, but if you give me jets and some good stuff to go with it, then I'm all aboard. I mean, I think the Top Gun Maverick trailers have looked great. I'm very excited.
I think it's.
I 100% expect that Top Gun Maverick is going to be better than Top Gun. I have no doubts in my mind that this movie is going to be better. It's longer. We're going to get a better story. And over time, Tom Cruise himself has become more of an action star than he was when he was younger. He's at his peak as an action star. And now, one of the things that I love about Tom Cruise is just how he runs in movies. Watch the man run in any of the movies that he does, and he goes full force.
Oh yeah.
If you've been to any movies recently, you've seen these behind the scenes little trailers that they have of the training that they went through just to do these action scenes. And so the action scenes are going to be even better because you didn't really get to experience in the same way because you couldn't. The technology was there. They were showing that they were trained not only to fly the pilots, but also to record themselves on camera. So they're running the cameras, they're flying the jets. You're going to be right in their faces, and it's going to be so freaking crazy. I think this movie is going to blow people's minds with what they experience. And I think that the story is still going to be okay, but
I think it'll probably be better.
than what we got in this one.
I think it'll probably
probably
be
be
better
better.
because we're going to see a more evolved Maverick. Just based on the trailers, it seems like he's now going to be slightly in the Iceman position where he's going to be like, I'm old now and I've been through it. And it turns out rules are good.
Or the Viper position or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And you got Miles Teller who's going to play Goose's son. So there's going to be some weirdness there.
Mhm.
Some vengeful stuff and weird father-son stuff. It's going to be a mess and a good way.
Yes. Let me ask. So in the vein of Maverick, Iceman, Viper, what would your call sign be? Just to start to get the conversation going, I'm going to say my call sign would be Casper.
Casper.
That'd be like a ghost, but I'd be very friendly.
Oh my God.
Nice guy, but I show up out of nowhere.
Wow. That's a tough one.
Some of these call signs are great. I'll read some off while you guys think. So you have Maverick, you have Iceman, Goose, Viper, Jester. That's a really cool one. Merlin, Slider, Hollywood. That's a great one.
Honestly, I think I'd have to go by Crash.
Crash. You want to go by Crash and not Crank?
Yeah, I think I would because I just need to have the irony there. Like I just need to have it there, and it makes it less concerning, and it alleviates some of the pressure. Makes me chuckle a little bit, and that's I think what I would need if I'm flying a plane at that fast and those stakes.
Yes, I think it helps. Crash, you're on your right. Crash, on your right, Crash.
Yep. Advantage.
I'm going to pick Apollo.
Ooh, nice.
I always
Nice.
liked
I like that.
Apollo.
Apollo.
That's a good one.
That's not bad. That's good. That's good. I think we've got some pretty good call signs there.
Flying sneakily in the dead of night.
Oh. That's one small step for Apollo and one giant crash for the enemy. Oh, and that'd be me.
I mean, look, if the Fast and Furious movies went to space, Top Gun's got to go to space, right? He's going to fly that jet into space, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if jets are
Determine space. I think he will go out of the stratosphere. I think he'll go.
Yeah, like Jeff
out of
Bezos
the
does. He
stratosphere.
doesn't really go to space. He just goes to the upper edge
Yeah,
of the atmosphere.
I think that will be. Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm very excited to see it, especially on big giant Dolby screen. Very much excited about that.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. We've been waiting for this one for a long time. The teaser trailer came out pre-pandemic. This was supposed to come out 2020.
Yeah, it's supposed to come out 2020. So I think that
this has got to be one of the last 2020 movies that haven't come out yet.
Well, I gotta be
think
getting
so,
up
man.
there. We got Bob's Burgers on the way and stuff too.
Yeah.
So this is up there, and so I think the gap was supposed to be something like 33 years between the movies, and now it's
A long time.
35 or something. So we're finally getting here. Hopefully, it doesn't get delayed again.
Yeah.
If you guys want, I'll
Talk
run
about the
box office.
yeah, box office.
Yeah, let's shoot back to 1986. I got to get back in time. And Top Gun, as you may not be surprised, was the #1 movie at the box office when it opened to just $8.1 million in the #1 spot. But get this, it was only in 1,000 theaters. So compare that today, we have over 4,000 theaters. Spider-Man No Way Home, which recently opened, was in almost 5,000 theaters. So the industry's gotten bigger. Who knows how good Top Gun would have done and if it was released in the kind of theater setting we have today. At #2, here's a blast from the past. It's Short Circuit. Brought in $4.4 million in its second weekend.
You know, I loved that movie as a kid.
Not so much today.
But not so much today. One of my favorites as a kid. Johnny Five.
Their lips. Your mother was a leaf blower or whatever it is. He said. That might be Short Circuit too. I don't remember. At #3, a movie called Sweet Liberty, which debuted that weekend, comes in at 3.1. At #4, Joe Dancer, Your Life is Calling, which sounds like a movie Andrew would probably. Yeah. And at #5 is a movie called Fire with Fire. Top Gun would go on to make. Where did that stat go? Top Gun would go on to make. Oh, I lost it.
A lot of money. Bet.
Sorry, hang on. Domestic. Yearly.
Do you remember the #1 movie of the year?
The #1 movie, I'll just say this. It is Top Gun. Top Gun was the #1 movie of 1986. It brought in $176 million. It was one of 3 movies to make over $100 million. I don't know if we've ever talked about this. The first movie to make over $100 million was Jaws in 1977, 76, 75. I don't remember when.
You're close.
But it was Jaws. And so, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 movies would make over $100 million that year. So it was a big box office here. You want to know the #2 movie of the year? Was Crocodile Dundee.
Ooh, 1980.
That's not a knife. Now this is a knife.
That's one of those Garrett kind of movies. So then
I never actually have seen it. I just know that one part.
Okay, that's interesting. So then at #3, we have Platoon. #4, The Karate Kid Part 2. And at #5, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. You're looking at the worldwide numbers, it's actually very similar to it's very much the same story. Top Gun was the #1 movie of even though it didn't even have an international release, didn't release overseas, according to this. So there you go, #1 movie of the year, Top Gun for 1986. Let's move on to the letterbox game.
All right, so let's.
I have no idea who's running it.
I don't either, but to start, I'm gonna look over some of the most popular reviews already written on Letterboxd about Top Gun. So there are a lot that hit a theme. There are a lot that are too serious. So some fun ones are 3 stars. There's no way this is a real movie. 3.5 stars. This is the most 80s movie. 3.5. This movie is just Call Me by Your Name, except the peaches are replaced with jets that go really fast. And if you catch what they're spinning, that's the theme of most of the reviews.
Yeah.
3 stars. Gay. And then finally, this film is unrealistic because Tom Cruise does not meet the height requirement to be a pilot.
That's funny.
Interesting detail.
So, I mean, I haven't seen the score, so
Mhm.
we could all guess on this one and then just look.
That's fine.
You go first, Garrett.
3-3.
This
I'm
is
gonna be in a similar range. I'm gonna say it's a 3.5.
I guess I'll be the one that goes down then a little bit with an even 3.0. All right, so we're a little all over the range of 3. But, okay, we have a direct hit, plane down. I don't know what they say. Mayday, that's what they say. 3.3.
3.3. You did it, Garrett.
Crash landing, baby. Crash landing.
Mayday.
That's not a good thing.
Mayday.
Hey, good shot there, Crash.
Oh man, that's exciting.
Yeah, to wrap
This is-
up, what are we gonna? It's a 3.5 for me. I'm just gonna say.
I'm gonna give it, I think, just a solid 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with a 4 stars, man. I would watch this movie over and over. Sheer action, just joy cheese, over the top soundtrack. Oh,
I've never been more happy to not have nostalgia for a film. It's a solid 3
lean
stars.
into the cheese, baby. Lean into the
It is
cheese.
it is very cheesy. We've still got a little bit of time left. Is there anything else we need to address with this movie?
I mean, look, it is fun. It's just fun, and you don't have to think about it too hard. And I have no real complaints beyond what I've already said, so no.
Yeah.
Those goofy things are what keep it at a 3.5 for me and not higher, but I just don't.
Short, sweet, and to the point. And that's what this movie. Sometimes that's what you need. I just need a nice, refreshing palate cleanser and Top Gun, baby. Not deliver every time.
I gotta say,
Not deliver every time.
to the comment about this movie being gay, there were a lot of scenes in locker rooms. This was a very locker room heavy
That's
movie.
what I'm talking
Talk
about
the
with
sweat.
the weird machismo stuff going on.
Yeah.
The
One of
volleyball
my
scene.
I gotta say, one of my favorite moments, I think, in the movie, a great piece of character establishment is when Iceman and what was his sidekick's name? Hollywood Slider, something like that. They walk over to Big Dog, Goose, and Maverick and Iceman. He's like, "Sorry to hear about what was his name? Sorry to hear about Cougar. He was a good man." And Maverick goes, "He still is." He goes, "Yeah, that's what I meant." So it just goes, "Yeah, that's what I meant." Just doesn't even really think about it. Just casually throws that in.
One thing I'm curious
yeah.
about for Maverick is, for Maverick is going to be, how does it work with the lack of some of the relationships that were established? Because Kelly McGillis is not in Top Gun Maverick,
Mhm.
and Val Kilmer is not really a big part in it.
No, I think
just
he's
because of his
referenced.
health and everything today. He's in the cast list, but I can't imagine he has a big part. So we're pretty
You
much
don't
left with
need
just
a
Tom
single-
Cruise.
You don't need a single person from the original movie other than Tom Cruise. Kelly McGillis doesn't matter. That relationship was secondary.
I disagree.
I disagree as well.
Give us
Really? Because I don't
exciting.
think they're important. I think they're going to establish the younger kids.
Oh yeah,
And I think that Tom Cruise is going to be playing like the lead, obviously. But they're going to establish the younger kids. And I don't think that any of those other relationships were established enough or strong enough to carry over to this one. I think they matter. You have Goose's son, and that's all you need.
Josh, you're looking at the cast list. Is Meg Ryan in it? Is she returning as
Yes,
Goose's
I did not
widow?
look for her. I do not see Meg Ryan in this list. No.
No, Meg
No, in
Ryan.
fact, this says that Maverick has a new love interest who is Jennifer Connelly.
No, Meg Ryan was Goose's
Well,
wife.
I know, but
Oh yeah.
Goose
definitely.
doesn't have a love interest in this movie.
That's part of Goose's whole thing is he's married and he's like go, but he's like constantly trying to get Maverick with someone. Anyway, so that's all I got. I think we've taken this one
Another
down.
quick fun fact I saw though while scrolling information is that Val Kilmer did not want to be in this movie at all, but was contractually obligated, and it became one of his most iconic roles.
That happens more than you think.
Yeah,
You know.
he did not want it. So how about that? End on that note. We'll be back with more. Obviously, you can always find our episodes at somanysequels.com, where you can find our whole back catalog and links to our social pages. So go subscribe in your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. We'll see you next time.